Hey, crate diggers and music lovers of all kinds. I'm Akila Sunrise, and today I'm going to be talking about this book, On Time by Morris Day. Next on Vinyl Jeopardy. So I recorded this months ago, and I don't know what happened to it. So here I am doing it again. Hopefully, I remember everything that I said. So, in any case, here is the book On Time by Morris Day. It is On Time, A Princely Life in Funk. Now, I ordered this book when, well, it was pre ordered, and so I got it in the mail, and I also listened to it by audiobook. So, that's usually what I do. I am not very good at sitting down and reading something. I don't really have the time to do it. So the first thing is when I saw the book advertised and I saw this picture as the cover, I was not liking it very much because usually when people do autobiographies, they very often will have a picture of themselves now of what they look like and talk about their journey of how they got to this place. And so this is, needless to say, a very old picture of Morris Day, but I understand now after reading the book why there's this picture. Also on the back there is a picture that is more modern of him right now. So I actually loved this book once I was finished with it. So uh, the thing that I did not like, let me say straight off the bat, was um, I was listening to it by audiobook, and this book is written in three different persons, one being Morris Day himself, the other he kind of channels the um, voice of Prince in some way, and then there's the other character, MD, which is the caricature type of Morris Day that we know from his starting in the time. So, having said that, in the audiobook, sometimes it was very difficult to understand the difference between the Prince voice and the Morris Day voice. The MD voice was easy because of the caricature type of swag that we know that Morris Day has, or maybe it's Jamie Starr, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, who knows. In any case, so that was a little unnerving because then I did have to come back to this actual book and try to find the space of where it was and try to figure out who was talking. So the other great thing about having the hard copy is that it does have pictures in it. It has a lot of pictures of Morris when he was a youngster. So I definitely like that. The book does chronicle his life starting from birth until now, which was wonderful. He talks a lot about his family. He pays homage to his mother and sister who helped him quite a bit with his career. He also talks about his community in Minneapolis. He talks about his struggles. Oh, by the way, if you were looking for something that didn't give spoilers, yeah, I'm going to talk about some specific stuff that's in this book. He says that he didn't want it to be a tell-all type of thing. I think he did a very good job of focusing on Prince's life only as it pertained to Morris Day. So I really liked that. Um, One of the parts that was particularly um, that I was particularly affected by was that he talks about his struggle with substance abuse. And it's very touching. It was very sad to me, disheartening, hearing what he went through with the substance abuse. And um, so that part was very honest and very vulnerable. And so I really admired him for coming out and talking about that particular aspect of his life. He talks about how he started with Prince when they were teenagers, and how they had the band Grand Central. Another thing that was kind of funny to me is that I wrote a fictional piece about um, Purple Rain, like a pre Purple Rain novel. And it's about Morris and the kid and how they grew up. And I really chuckled because in the book he talks about his mother being kind of a quasi manager for them. And that's what I wrote in my book, not knowing, I had no idea that that was really what happened. But in my story that I wrote, his mother was their manager as teenagers. But anyway, I digress. Um, One of the things that he talked about also was that when they had the group Grand Central and Prince went on his way to have his um, singular recording career, Morris says that Prince used Grand Central music for his demo that he presented to Warner Brothers. And some people might consider that to be a little underhanded, maybe dishonest. Um, and maybe it is, but I don't have a problem with it because um, Warner Brothers kind of marketed Prince as a new Stevie Wonder, playing all of these instruments, a musical genius, etc. So I think I would have had a problem with it if I thought that it wasn't possible that Prince could have, if he wanted to. And that's just my belief that if Prince wanted to create his own demo, playing all the instruments, etc., that he could have done it. So the fact that he didn't, or at least as Morris says, um, that doesn't bother me. It would if I thought that he could not, but he could have. I think anybody would say that he could have. And anyway, that was one of the things that he said. The other thing that he said in the book was that he composed the song "Party Up," and Prince, being the wheeler dealer that he was at the time, said, "Look, I'll give you $10,000 for this song, or let's make an album for you, your choice." So Morris decided he was wanted to make his own album instead of taking the money, and that turned out to work for him. We know that eventually that he did end up getting his own album with The Time. The next thing that he says, and I've heard different stories about how the Alexander O'Neill incident and how that happened. He basically said that he and Prince had cut the Time album and that it had already been released, and so now they needed a band and they were going to use Flight Time, and that Alexander was not feeling the money situation and so walked his way. So I've heard other stories about this, of how Prince didn't like his attitude about not liking the money, etc. And I guess Morris thought that he was going to be the drummer, and because it was out with Alexander O'Neill, now Morris becomes the front man. But the only thing that's confusing about that is Morris was the front man on the records, which had already been playing on the radio before the band. So I don't know how they were intending, or how they thought when they approached Flight Time. When they approached Flight Time, I'm wondering how they thought that Alexander O'Neill was going to fit in the picture anyway. So that was unclear about how that was all supposed to work out. But we know that it did. He was also in this book very honest about his philandering with other women during his marriages. And I thought that was very transparent of him and kind of expected. I think a lot of rock stars do that, and then there are a lot of women who marry rock stars knowing that that's just part of the deal. Um, and he speaks of his wife Judy very respectfully in this book. And a common theme among musicians and rock stars that they always don't feel that they spent enough time with their children during their career. One thing that I thought was very interesting, and that he attributes it to um, it being a business decision for him, was that throughout the years, he continued to go back to Prince. Every time Prince called, Morris shows up with his band, with being the original time or the band that he formed later. It seemed like he never said no. And I don't know if their friendship, their brotherhood that they had really attributed to that. He doesn't say that he does. He says that they were business decisions. The other thing that I kind of wanted to know that he didn't really go into detail is how in the world did he get all of them together for Graffiti Bridge? How did that work out? I mean, by that time, he and Prince had already fallen out, or they weren't exactly good with each other. So, how did he even get him to participate in Graffiti Bridge? I mean, he says that it was a business decision and they needed money, but there had to be more to it than that, because pretty much the whole band of the time was involved in that. How they get everybody back together for that? Anyway, that there was really no answer to that. I guess it probably wasn't that important. But Morris Day, of course, has staked his claim, has set himself as a musical icon, and I don't think that he is wrong. He is a legend. Um, in his own right, as a musician, as a singer, as an entertainer. I, of course, love Morris Day. I think he is just a fabulous entertainer and just so cute. I could totally just kiss his cheeks. I love Morris Day. Now, the format of the book, with him speaking as Prince throughout. So he kind of, I guess he imagines what Prince would say about what he was saying at the time. He doesn't put any like corrections or um, like Prince disagrees with what he is saying. I think he just kind of interjects maybe that he thought that Prince would have something to say about it, about that particular incident, whatever it was. Or Prince might ask, is that really how it happened? You might be leaving out something, and then Morris kind of puts the rest of it in. So initially, I I did not like the format of the three different characters, and at the end it worked, and I could kind of see why he would do that, because I think a lot of people would probably think in the back of their mind, I wonder what Prince would say about that. So he just go ahead and asks Prince, channels him, what would Prince say about that? And I do believe that he is accurate. I think that they had the kind of friendship where Morris could accurately wonder what Prince would wonder. In the final analysis, though, I don't think it was necessary. I think he could have told his story just straight without having this strange caveat, though it was an interesting one. So I highly recommend this book. If you are a Prince fan, it's something that you must have in your collection, on your bookshelf. If you are not a die-hard Prince fan or a deep Prince fan or a true funk soldier, as it were, um, this is still very interesting information about this man as a musician and as an icon, and also about the Minneapolis funk type of sound and how all of this stuff came together. So I do highly recommend it. I enjoyed it in the final analysis of it. And of course, I always enjoy Morris Day. I think he is just a peach. So, if you have already purchased this book, if you have already read it, I would like to know, what did you think of it, and especially what did you think of the format with the three different characters? Did you enjoy it, or did it throw you off? And also, if you listen to it by audiobook, am I the only one who couldn't understand at times the difference between the two voices? Anyway, tell me about it in the comments below. I'm Makila Sunrise. Be sweet.
These are my records.